Hey everyone, so it's me. Um, I've debated for weeks now, or days even, since the COVID stay-at-home things went into effect on whether I should do this video or not, or if anyone would even care or not. Um, because the the reason why I'm trying to do this, and I've started deleted many times already, but every time I think about forgetting about it, things keep reminding me, and part of me say this could be a worthwhile video. This could be one of the most important videos I ever do on my channel. Then again, it may not. um, I'm not doing this to be famous. I'm not trying to make awareness because I can't even put a name to it. But those that are going through it, those that have gone through it, will know what I'm talking about. And I don't mean to say that I'm an expert. I just say I know how I'm dealing with it and how I'm going through it, and I know how to beat it. For me, um, what I'm talking about is isolation and being away from people and dealing with it basically, because for many of you it's been the first time where you're having to stay inside and you are away from anyone. And some of you may have family, which is good, but half the time, even when you are, you start to withdraw from people. You feel, even though you can be in a room of crowded people but feel isolated on your own. That's how I used to feel. Like, even though I was surrounded by my family, I felt like very much on my own. And it wasn't anything that they were doing. It wasn't anything. It was just how I felt. That's how I was thinking. I'm not gonna say I understand how everyone is feeling. I'm not gonna try and say, hey, I understand. I know what you're going through. All I can say, and all anyone can say, is that from what I'm saying and what other people say, they see similarities and not goals, but warnings that having gone through it ring alarm bells that make me want to pay attention. And I hope to be able to bring awareness to that and just give some tips on how to survive, because a lot of you aren't going to be aware of this. You got to remember that isolation does not mean solitary. Um, we are at home, and as I started to say at the preamble stage, that I am my own worst enemy. I get in my own way of my training, and we can be our own worst enemy. And if it wasn't for the fact that I've been through this so many times, that I knew as soon as I started seeing warning signs, I took action. I did stuff, and without even thinking about it. My English class in August or last year, I even wrote a freaking paper about it, and and I didn't even think about anxiety or anything like that. But as soon as this isolation came again, I almost fell right back into the trap again, of vicious circles and getting my head all in a mess. And I gotta stop doing that. I stopped it, and I'm trying to get myself back into a groove and getting it back. I said, this would be so much easier if I had a name for this. If I had, if I can, because that's the main problem with this kind of stuff. Um, if you trip or fall, or if you cut, you bleed, you see it, you can get a band-aid. It's something that you can see, people can understand, and fix it because it's there in front of you. The stuff that you can't see or you don't understand is a lot harder to treat. It's a lot harder to prevent because you don't see it until it's happened. You don't see it until someone falls to pieces in front of you. Um, and when we, I mean, we got the stay-at-home orders. I got my hopes up. I was a little bit excited because at first this college was closed, but the flights were going to still go on. The very last flight, I got to the airport, and the flight was cancelled because of air, and that was the last because the weather was bad, and then that was the last time I got to go to the airport before that we got shut down, got grounded. Um, and my mind instantly was like, oh, the events of this war are conspiring against me to stop me from becoming a pilot. Like, I'm trying everything I can, and no matter what I do, I get knocked down. I'm going to, like, every time I get up, every time I go, the weather stops me from going. And now we're not even going back to college anymore, and I'm just like, what's the point of even getting up anymore? I stopped caring. I stopped doing work. I stopped doing any of the schoolwork. I just stopped. I didn't care. But I started to withdraw from people. Like, the very worst thing you can do is get stuck in your own head when you're bored, because you're going to constantly think of stuff, and it's only going to spiral and get worse and worse as while you keep going. Because I live on my own, I'm isolated, but I have means of dealing with that. I have my fur babies, I have my puppy, I have my cats, and I have other avenues that I could explore. But the thing is, you've got to notice it. You've got to notice ahead of time, and you got to do the steps to actually fix it. And you've got to force yourself into correcting it. Basically, it's going to take all of your energy to overcome this. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to start doing this, but slowly I started doing the maths, and I've been doing the flight lessons. Just because we're in isolation does not mean we're in solitary. Reach out to your friends. Talk to people on Facebook. Talk to people on Twitter. Talk to people on Twitch. Force yourself to get up and go on class. Last week was the first time in Zoom for me. I had a class on Monday, and then we did our online ground course with the entire group. And as soon as you start talking to people online, like instantly, I felt like a whole weight lifted off my chest. It was like, what was I even worried about? Why was I thinking? All these people I hear, they're not letting this virus beat them. They're not letting this down. We know that we're going to eventually get back in the air again. Like, yeah, we're not going to let this stop us. What was I thinking? But until you do that, until you take that step and break into it, you're going to be inside of this own little cloud of doom that you're going to constantly think about and keep going around over and over and over again in your head. And there's nothing that anyone can say to you until you experience it for yourself. And the only way you're going to break out of that and feel better is by talking to someone and connecting to other people. Even if you don't talk about what's bothering you, if you just sit there and listen to other people Um, let them talk to you because they're going through the same things as you are. Um, that could be enough. Like, it's just like, well, they're going through a hard time. They're going through a lot harder time than I am. What do I have to be upset about? It's disappointing right now, but I'd rather be home safe than out there risking other people life. Me here saving lives. That's what they're saying. Um, and my own critical failing is I'm a control freak. I like having all the information in front of me, and I've been constantly going on the news websites, CNN, BBC, getting all the details and staying up to date, which is good because I fixed the problem of being in control, but it's also bad because the news is nothing but negativity. There was a single positive thing about this. And even today, I posted in a group on Twitter about an ice hockey, and I pointed it out that it's rather sad that it presents a pleasant change to hear someone dying other than from this freaking virus. Because every single person I've seen reported their death on the news has been because of this virus. So because of this NHL hockey player that died, passed away, and it wasn't caused by the virus, it was a pleasant change. Which is sad to think that anyone's death could be a pleasant change, but and I've been thinking of all these different clips of shows and stuff that come into my head, and I thought I could put them on this video and stuff like that. But in the end, I guess I should just talk to you. I don't need any of that. Those worry sheets I did before, I had to print off one of those sheets, and I did it for this, and it it's okay if you've gone through this before, these vicious circles, and you're going to trip up every now and then, but you've just got to start all over again and build back up. Now, what I'm talking about is, if you haven't heard of the phrase of a vicious circle, what is it? It's the fight or flight, basically, is what it comes down to. But again, this is about the essay that I wrote and stuff like that. I talked about it before. But you got a car coming directly at you. You're in the middle of the road. One person freezes, one person runs, one person punches or pushes you out the way. The person who freezes, their thought process freezes, or it looks like the person has frozen, but it isn't. It's their mind trying to process the entire situation, and they have to slow down in order to process it. The other two that have already reacted are reacting instinctively. And the scenario that I try to give people is, think of something that you do by instinct now, like you know how to tie your shoelaces. But can you remember how you learned that before you learned how to tie it? You had to have other people show you. You had to have your parents or your mom or your brother and sister to go over, do the bunny rabbit ears and, ear over ear and under and pull and stuff like that. Everything that you take for granted like that, you had to start off slow. And because you've done it multiple times, your mind has learned how to do it instinctively. But the thing is, if you've been taught wrong, it's going to be very hard for your mind to change again. And this is where a vicious circle comes into play. And this is what comes back to. This comes back to the point of my earlier story. My initial thought, I remember what my thought was that started the whole scenario of me going into doom and gloom, was that I was never going to get to fly again. everything, the school year is ending and stuff like that. Um, the initial thought, I was never gonna fly again. Pretty depressing, right? So I put out the sheet and I said, that's my worry. And what's the chances of that ever happening? I put 80% because I was pretty sure that I was never going to fly again. But it's not realistic. Um, you put what you're feeling, like that's the thought. What are you feeling? Scared, anxious, upset, depressed, stuff like that. Um, and enter out, well, what will happen if you don't get to fly? Um, I'll be doomed, I have nothing to do, blah blah blah. And by the end of it, I came out and said, well, the chances of that happening is not very likely. The chances are that we're going to make it through this. The shutdown's going to be lifted. We're going to continue. I've done my classes. I've done my online courses. I keep doing that. I'm not going to let myself get in my own way. And if I didn't stop and think and did this, I would have. And it's a prime example of showing how, even though I am my own worst enemy, I am also my best friend. And if I didn't catch the early warning signs, I easily could have gone into a vicious circle again and again and again. And it all starts with that one thought. Now, it's going to appear crazy to other people. And it's hopefully I'm gonna, by doing this, by being open, showing you how, yes, it affects everyone. And it's good. The more people spend time at home, the longer this drags out, the worse this can get. The more you sit at home, bored, thinking, the more you want to withdraw from people, come away, pull away, and stuff like that. And I get scared, and the reason why I'm doing these videos is because I see warning signs from other people's behavior by what they're posting, depressing things or not depressing stuff like that, but signs like saying, if I die tonight, no one would notice. If you see someone posting like that, if that doesn't ring alarm bells, nothing will. That should concern you. So I messaged that person and I just said, no dying allowed. And hopefully, I don't know, hopefully that put a smile on their face, I hope. I wanted to say, I took a screenshot of them online, and I was thinking about pasting it in and saying, I don't know about noticing you're not dying, but I notice you're online, and I'd love it if you would stay online. And I wanted to do something like that, but I thought that might be a bit too cheesy. So I just went with no dying allowed. I noticed that. I hope that got the message over that I noticed them. I noticed what they're saying. Let's talk. I wanted to try and reach out to them and stuff like that. And the other signs, when someone was saying, I was told that no one was doing their work in another class. Me and one other person was the only one that had done all the work. Everyone else was in the same position as me and hasn't done anything. And that made me wonder if they're in the same feeling, like they're never going to fly again. What's the point of doing the groundwork if they're never going to get in a plane again? So I keep seeing ideas. I keep seeing things that remind me of this and why it may be a good idea or may not be a bad idea. Again, this would be so much easier if it had a name, but it doesn't. It isn't just depression. because depression is only a symptom of the problem. It isn't the actual problem itself. The vicious circles are only a symptom of the problem. Um, the way that your mind protects itself from these problems is by making you afraid. If it does the like if you have a core fear, like if you're afraid of something, the way your mind protects it is by putting little fears in front of it to shield it. So you got this one core fear in the middle. So like this, imagine this one big huge phobia, like this, the common phobia, fear of death. So this GoPro represents fear of death. So how does your mind protect itself from you discovering that core fear? Well, it puts up a fear of heights. Now you can't see it. Now your mind thinks it doesn't have to worry about you confronting the core of death, because it knows you're going to have a hard time getting past this fear of heights. Well, if that's not good enough, your mind will put up another wall and say, this is a fear of going out in public, being around people. Why? Because people are bad. They may kill you. Well, that's two fears now. Two minor fears. And then your mind comes up and puts another one. And say this is a fear of working, because working could lead you to death. Like if you're a construction worker, or you're in the military, something that's very deadly, suddenly become fear. If you die, if you go to work, you're gonna die, and you don't want to. It'll make you come in, and suddenly your mind's built up these line of defenses, or to protect this core fear. This is your mind working against you to protect itself from you discovering what you're really afraid of. And the only way you're going to get to this core fear is by challenging your thinking, by saying why or how. That's what the printing out of the worry sheets are, and why they are important. You've got to write it down because it slows your mind down. You have to stop, pause, and think to write something down. And then your eyes physically see it. And your mind slowly relearns what you're trying to write and what you're saying. So, literally, I challenge my thinking. I am never going to fly again. Why? Because they're never going to take the virus off. They're never going to end the shutdown. Why will they never end the shutdown? Because the virus is never going to go away. Is it really never going to go away? No. So why does it go back? And it comes, by the end of it, you'll come to your core fears. It'll come to one of the core fears. Fear of failure, fear of loss of control, fear of death, or one of the others. Mine, I know, it's fear. My core phobia is a fear of losing control. It's not death or anything. I'm not afraid of death or anything like that. But it's a problem. But it's very hard to do that kind of thing if you're not prepared to. So the only thing I can suggest to people that are new to staying at home like this, because the whole reason why I went to college is because I've been like this for 2 years before I started going to college. I purposely went to college to get out of the house, even though it was just 2 days. Initially it was Monday, Wednesday and Thursday to go to English and maths, and then it was maths, and then these two flight lessons were the only time I came out of the house because I had nowhere to go. I've been trying to find work for the last 2 years and can't find anything. So I started doing college, started doing aviation, and now I knew it would be a problem because if I stay in the house too long, I'm gonna get inside of my own head, and it's bad. You can't do that. You've got to come out. You got to talk to people. You got to reach out. Even if you just open up a Facebook messenger to someone saying, "Hey, how are you? How's your day?" Talk to people. Go onto people's streams. Go on Twitch. Go on Twitter. Do anything. Even though we're isolated, go out on the porch. Take the dog out. Just stand on the porch while the dog does the business. You know, anything. Stay positive. Do stuff. I've been purposely watching the videos. I gotta say, I gotta issue a big thank you to all of the channels. Mantle, Aviation 101, Fly Chops, because their videos and seeing their videos gives us hope. Like, yeah, they're still flying. They haven't lost it. You know. As President Obama said, the sun's gonna come up the next day, and it's, the aviation industry isn't gonna collapse. It's gonna be different. Quoting Mental, you just gotta keep one step in front of another. Just because this has happened is not doom and gloom. It doesn't mean the end of it. But I just do whatever I have to do, and that isn't to say what I'm doing is going to work for you. It may, but find what you're interested in. I started a game with my friend on Facebook. Every day we post 20 favorite sitcoms, one a day. Today my little Facebook group had an opposite day. So instead of saying Happy Easter to people, I was saying Happy Wester. Opposite of East is West, Wester, Easter, West. Just you gotta do whatever it is to keep you interested. Keep your mind occupied. Don't if the worst it's gonna get is when you're on your own, bored, and you have too much time to think. If you think and constantly think, it's only gonna be bad and negative. Drinking beer, it's okay, but don't do excessive because you're already feeling down as it is, and if getting drunk on a high is okay, but remember on the other side of that high is the downside of the hill, so it's just gonna make you more depressed than you already are if you're not careful. So exercise caution. I'm not gonna tell you not to, but Alright, I think that's the end of the lecture. I think I've lectured you enough. But if anyone needs to talk, I've been through this a lot. I know what to do. I had to coach my ex-wife through all of this. I have all of her worry sheets. I kept them because they helped me. Just going through, seeing what someone else goes through, that it's not just me. This is a part of training. This is unexpected. This isn't the type of stuff that most people will talk about or being open to talk about. They talk about looking forward to getting back into a plane, stuff like that. And yeah, I need to get back in a plane. I'm going crazy sitting on the ground. I want to fly. I'd rather be flying, as the planes say. I've recently been finding these videos of day in the life of certain pilots. Yesterday I saw of a medevac pilot, and then today it was a skydiver. I need to finish watching their video. I haven't seen their channels before, and they just came up on the front page of YouTube today, and I was like, oh, that caught my interest. Do whatever it is you have to survive. If you want to talk about this, it's fine. And if I knew a name or a syndrome for this, if you want to call it cabin fever, fine. But this doesn't seem like cabin fever to me. I mean, depression is just a symptom. It isn't the problem itself. Um, like, I'm not gonna say I'm an expert. I haven't beaten this. Clearly, I haven't because I just stumbled. The start of this whole process, I nearly went back into my pit of endless circles. Um, but it's good that I'm talking about it. And before, I would never do this. I would have kept it to myself. And one of my other former friends like saying, "You're gonna feel like you feel like you want to withdraw, push push everyone away, and that's the very worst thing that you can do. You can't force anyone to talk to you, but you can always offer a hand and see if they take it, and that's what I hope with this video. Um, I know the people that I am concerned about are going to see this. They're going to know who they are. I ain't going to say anything any more than I have already. But I am worried. And I feel powerless because I'm stuck here and I can't do anything to help them, and I know what they're going through. And I've been going through it for like a long time, and I'm here to listen if they need to talk. So, I guess I will catch you later. Oh yeah, I just screwed up. Alright, see you later.